Hello everybody, and thanks so much for joining our presentation today. My name is Danielle Mailey, and I'm one of the technical sales managers for Foodology by Univar Solutions. I'm really delighted to be taking part in Bakery Live 2024. The title of our presentation today will be an introduction to healthy baking, so formulating sustainably and cost effectively. The key discussion today will be around the use of functional ingredients for nutritional optimization. So that will be a focus on protein and fibre enrichment, but also reducing sugar, salt and fat. Within our company, we've been running our own campaign called Discover Wellness in Bakery for almost 2 years now. So it's got it's got a good place in our heart. It's very close to us. And we've been supporting our customers and new customers with ingredients and solutions for fibre and protein enrichment, sugar reduction, acrylamide reduction, fresh keeping, free from, and salt and fat reduction. So when we're doing something like this, we need to check the market research. Is this still relevant, and is this still something that the market actually wants? This is a Mintel report that looked at 1,917 internet users, 16 plus, and they were asked if they would be interested in buying bread that had added nutritional benefits, a longer shelf life, contained no artificial preservatives, it was lower in sugar, gut-friendly, lower in calories, made with sustainable ingredients, or none of these at all. And thankfully, only 10% of the consumers that completed the survey said none of these. We could see that there's a real focus, either between 30 and 40% of the people said that they do want more from their bread. And I suppose that leads on to the kind of ingredients that we're going to be talking about. It lets us know also that the consumers are very health conscious. They are mindful nutritionists in their own right. They've educated themselves about nutrition. They look at the back of pack. They look at ingredient decks now. They look at nutritionals, and they want more from their products. So where will we be focusing on today? We'll be looking at fat reduction. We'll be looking at sugar reduction. We'll be looking at salt and sodium reduction, but also fibre and protein enrichment. I will spend a little minute at the end just talking about sustainability, as it ties in really well to some of the ingredients that we'll be looking at today. So HFSS has been talked about for a long time. It's everybody's favourite thing, especially in sweet baking. I don't think so. It's been very, very difficult to achieve the targets that have been asked of us. So it is a government initiative. It's been around a few years, and it is quite a challenge. It is to support with tackling the obesity crisis and promote more of a healthier choice amongst consumers. What it does is it restricts paid promotions. It restricts buy one, get one free offers. It restricts advertising to children if we aren't achieving those HFSS targets. Some key brands of indulgent bakery products or indulgent treat products have had to take a step back. They've maybe looked at it and said, our score is very, very high. Do we innovate and do we formulate to try and achieve the target? But then we'll lose the indulgent, and we'll lose the indulgence, and we'll lose as our brand standard, basically. So some people have gone ahead, they've formulated, they've achieved a lower score. And some people have just stuck with the recipe that they've had before, and they've just hoping the consumers will stand by them. So today we will talk about some of the ingredients that have been used to reduce the score. And then there's also Nutri-Score in the EU. This is a European initiative. It's a scheme that's currently voluntary. Some countries have really, really embraced this. Other countries within Europe are kind of developing and moving more slowly with it. There are talks that this will become mandatory in the coming years as well. But let's take France, for example. France have really embraced this, and there's been some studies done in France. 7 out of 10 consumers will look for a good Nutri-Score, but also there's been a study that said that 84% of consumers will actually look for the score, and they will be likely and more than likely to buy if the score is good. So it could give you a competitive edge in those types of countries as well. If you have a good score, people will choose your product over other products. And yes, it's very prevalent in the UK and Europe, but we can see here that this is showing us a map of the world, and we've got a lot of different countries who have got their own targets in place. It's all about turning those reds into greens where possible. So I'll start to talk about some of the ingredients that we have for reformulation to reduce fat. Fat is so important in bakery. It gives us colour, it gives us mouthfeel, creaminess, it helps the product rise, keeps the product moist over life, fresh keeping. It does a lot. So when we're replacing or reducing fat, we really need to be careful with what we're replacing it with. So using products that are fat mimetics, and what a fat mimetic is, it's essentially a substance that can mimic the physical or organoleptic properties of fat molecules. Unfortunately, it's not always just one fat out and another product in. We have to look at sometimes a solution and a number of different products to give us the functionality that we want. So a viscosifying starch is something that could be pre-gelatinized. It could be hot cook. It could be a source of potato starch, maize starch, rice, tapioca, whatever you prefer. These can be introduced to give us texture and stability through life. Now, these work very well with co-texturizing starches. And co-texturizing starches are fat mimetics because they have been designed just to coat the mouth and give us a really, really nice creamy mouthfeel. So if we're pulling back on fat, these are really important because they give us the mouthfeel that we can miss whenever we remove fat or reduce it. They also work very well with viscosifying starches. And if you use them from the same source, sometimes you just need one ingredient declaration for both. Also with co-texturizing starches, if we are reducing creams or expensive butter, for example, we can have a cost and use saving as well. So it's another key benefit of using co-texturizing starches. Yep. Then let's talk about some fibres. So we've got prebiotic fibres like inulin, FOS, fructooligosaccharides or galactooligosaccharides. So these are highly soluble fibres. And what these will do is these will add back in the body and the bulk that can be missing when we pull back the fat. They also give us creaminess in the mouth. They give us a really, really nice indulgent mouthfeel that we can miss. They can work along well with the co-texturizing starches to really boost that mouthfeel, but they have humectant qualities as well. Other fibres that work really, really well would be citrus fibre. We've done some work with Ingredion, who are our starch supplier. We can reduce oil within a muffin mix, for example, or a cake by 30%, replace it with citrus fibre and a viscosifying starch, and there's no compromise on taste and quality. Corn fibre, another soluble fibre that works really, really well. And then oat fibre, there's been some work done to reduce fat by almost 50%. So fibres do play a massive part when we are reducing fat. I will talk about enzymes in more detail a little bit later. But there's an enzyme called Optiva LF, Optiva low fat. It's a mutagenic amylase, so a fresh keeping enzyme, and it's also a cellulase. And this is the use of two different enzymes to allow a reduction in fat and oil within cakes and baking. It could be a bread, it could be a cake, it could be a muffin, but we don't have to compromise on the quality from organoleptic or shelf life. And we've done a lot of case studies and a lot of work on this, and it works really, really well. So sugar reduction then, this has got a light shine on it and has done for a couple of years. We have some targets from the World Health Organization that says that the amount of free sugars that we take in, or the no added sugar, or free sugars that we take in, and let me start that again. It says that the amount of free sugars that we take in should not account for more than 10% of our energy intake as a whole. And that's a very tight target when you think about it. And consumers want to see that on pack. They want to see no added sugar. They don't want to see high levels of sugar, but then they want the sweet taste and they want the texture as well. So they will not compromise. So it's something that we need to work with our customers on to try and achieve that. And it is achievable for sure. And as I say, we've been doing this work for a long time. So there's really easy fixes when it comes to sugar reduction that people don't realize. So for example, by taking out granulated sugar, and replacing it with fructose, for example, that can be your stepping stone into sugar reduction. Fructose is 1.3 times sweeter than granulated sugar. So already, by just switching the source of the sugar and the type of the sugar, you're putting in less sugar, but you're still getting the same sweetness. So already, you've got some sugar reduction without trying very hard. Now, we can boost that even further by looking at some of these functional ingredients that can really boost that sugar reduction and let us achieve our no added sugar claims if necessary. Something like a sugar alcohol or a polyol can really help as well. So maltitol, sorbitol, for example, work well, but erythritol in bacon is a really good product. It's 0 calories, but with sugar, it's not only about replacing the sweetness. We have to think about the bulk and the body and the texture that sugar brings to a product. Erythritol helps because it is it's a granular product, so it can help build with that build back. It is only a sweet, 60% as sweet as sugar, so we will potentially need to boost that flavour with the sweetener. But essentially, you've got a really good sugar replacement there, and a really good starting point as well. We'll talk about Novamil Bestbite, which is an enzyme. I've got a case study to talk to you about with that, so we'll spend a little bit of time on the next few slides. But again, mentioning fibres, so inulin is a fibre that has been used a lot in sugar reduction. It gives body, it gives mouthfeel, but also fructooligosaccharides. So they're from the same family, it's from the inulin family. It's a prebiotic fibre, very soluble, very easy to handle, but it's shorter chains. So for me, when I'm developing something, I prefer fructooligosaccharides because it has a sweeter taste. So, you know, it's about 50% as sweet as sugar, but it's giving you so many things. It's giving you the body, the bulk, and it's helping with the build back from sugar, as well as some sweetness. So it's definitely a fibre to consider if you are reducing your sugar within your product. There's also citrus fibre and corn fibre as well, which can really help. So flavours with modifying properties then, declared as natural flavourings. These are not sweeteners. These are flavour enhancers or flavour improvers. They work really well in synergy with polyols, with sweeteners, because they do not boost the sweetness, but they improve the sweetness. And an example of that would be somebody's using sucralose or an artificial sweetener, and they're getting an initial really sweet kick, and it's almost too much. And they're comparing that with the product that has sugar, and they're like, no, it's too sweet. By using something like a flavour modulator or an FMP, what we can help with is we can build up to the sweetness, we can hold that sweetness in the mouth for a little bit longer, and we can keep it. So we can help it with the aftertaste and the lingering of the sugar, or the sweet note, so it's very sugar-like. And we have a natural flavouring declaration with that. So it's very clean label, but it really boosts the sweetness already in the product. Also, there are flavour modulators that can promote support with the dairy taste, can really boost those notes. Vanilla, it could be chocolate notes, it could be fruit notes, citrus, anything like that. So it's the sweetness and also the flavour delivery. So I did mention very briefly there Novozymes enzyme Novamil Bestbite for sugar reduction, but a little bit of an introduction into enzymes. So for me, we shouldn't have favourite ingredients, but sometimes we do, and enzymes would feature heavily in mine because they're so easy to use and they're highly, highly functional. They're sustainable, they're processing aids, so they don't have to be declared. They're very clean label and they're natural. So we have enzymes, and there are enzymes on the market as well for reducing acrylamide, for healthier baking, improving appearance and consistency, dough strengthening and conditioning, flour correction, fresh keeping, so ensuring that it's softer, more elastic and moist through life, but also for gluten strengthening. So instead of adding the gluten in as another ingredient, why not strengthen the gluten within the product? From a cost saving perspective, cleaning up the label, using less ingredients. And also we have enzymes to remove emulsifiers also. And they are so easy to use, and they can give really good cost and use. They can be really good for cost and use savings as well. So talking about Novamil Bestbite, it is considered to be a fresh keeping enzyme. We are talking about it from a sugar reduction point of view today. So go back to fresh keeping, the market has always used maltogenic amylases for fresh keeping. So what the maltogenic amylase will do is it will work on the starch, it converts the starch into maltose, and it will work on the starch when it starts to retrograde, so when it starts to go stale, and it keeps that product fresher for longer because it stops the starch from fully going stale, and it really helps the product then through life. Now, Bestbite is a patented new molecule from Novozymes, and it is a glucoamylase. So what that means is it keeps the product fresher from day one, so it doesn't need to wait for the starch to start to stale. keeps it fresher from day one, but it also keeps it more fresh for life. But from a sugar reduction perspective, it produces a different sugar. So it doesn't produce maltose, it produces glucose. And that's great for us because it means that we can put in less added sugar to get the same sweetness. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So this is looking at 50% less added sugar in a bread without impacting taste. So on the left-hand side here, we can see that we're looking at a product that has no fresh keeping enzyme, and the added sugar is 8%. And then in the second column, it's a product that has Novamil Bestbite and at a very low dosage of 100 parts per million and only 4% added sugar. I suppose here what we want to look at is the lime green. So that's the glucose content because that's the sweeter sugar and that's going to impact the taste. You can see on the product that has the enzymes and the reduced sugar, there's much more glucose there. There's 31 compared to 18. Now, when we look at that and the sweetness index, it's very slightly lower, the product with enzyme and reduced sugar. But I suppose the key takeaway from this slide is a trained taste panel could not detect any difference. So a sensory evaluation confirmed that the difference in sweetness, that there was none at all. And they compared that with the enzyme that had no fresh keeping enzymes at 8% sugar and then 50% less sugar and the enzyme, which is really good news. Yeah. We did showcases at FIE and a hamburger bun. It works really well with a brioche, a sweet bread, anything like that. So the Novamil Bestbite will do two things for us. It will extend the product, keep it fresher for longer, but it also will mean that we can reduce the sugar within the recipe because we're producing glucose over maltose. We also use a cocktail of different enzymes, which I won't dig too deeply into today, but there's lots of other enzymes there. And they do work on specific substrates and they do have their own job to do. But like fungamil for increased low volume, even our lipopan, our lipases for removal of emulsifiers, for cleaning up the label, and a little bit of sugar then just to enhance the flavour. So salt reduction is still discussed. It doesn't have as much airtime as our protein and fibre enrichment or fat or sugar reduction, but as part of HFSS and Nutri-Score and different things, it is still discussed a lot. World Health Organization has given us some targets of 5 grams per day as our intake of salt or sodium. We're currently sitting as a population between 9 and 12, so we're a little bit away from that. Now there has been some studies released in the UK in 2020 that showed in the 10 years previous to that, the intake as a population was reduced by about 1 gram, and that was probably done by more health conscious consumers reducing the amount of sugar or salt that they're putting onto their food, but also, food manufacturers gradually pulling back on the amount of added salt and sodium going into their product. So we're slowly getting there. Ways to reduce salt very easily, excuse me, would be to look at low or no sodium alternatives. And that could be anything from baking powders and leavening agents to sodium chloride replacements. So in the past, they would have been very heavy on potassium chloride or potassium as replacing the sodium. That sometimes can have some off notes and some aftertastes. So we've seen now in the market, it's like a blend of different salts that can replace sodium chloride, and it can do this on a one-to-one basis. So as a technologist, I find that really, it's music to my ears because I want my life to be as easy as possible. So if I can take out sodium chloride and put something else in, and I don't have any compromise on taste and texture, then that's perfect. So there's also other FMPs on the market. We have one called NSF14 in our portfolio, and they will be declared as a natural flavouring again, but they're designed to give us, enhance the salt notes within the recipe, so allowing us to pull back on the amount of added salt that we have. Sorry. So protein enrichment then, this is a massive trend, and it's not just in bakery, it's in ready meals now, it's in dairy. People want to see high in protein, but they also want to see grams of protein per serving as well. So it's not just athletes or people who go to the gym, it's just normal consumers now. There's whey protein, there's milk protein on the market, but for me, I see a lot of the innovation around the pulse proteins. So, we can see this part of the market really, really developing, and they have a lovely sustainability story as well, and they don't carry an allergen. and vegan bacon as well. As you know, there is a real push for this. So this all leads into that. We work with the range of phytescents from Ingredient. So we've got our pulse flours, pea, faba bean, lentil, and chickpea, but we also have their isolates as well. Their concentrates and isolates. And these have all been deflavoured. So sometimes pulse proteins or pulse flours can have a bad reputation because of the aftertaste. What I will say is there's a lot of innovation, and these are changing. They're becoming better products. The aftertaste has been taken away. They're deflavoured now. They're low flavour. That's something that these food manufacturers who are developing these flours and proteins are really working towards, is a low flavour product. And for flours, we can have faba bean, pea, chickpea, lentil, whatever you need. And along the protein and the concentrates and isolates, we can have lentil, chickpea, pea, and faba bean also. Now, these don't carry an allergen, so that's a good thing in itself. But sustainability is a big focus for people, which we'll cover later on. And reducing egg is for sustainability. It's not always about reducing the cost or anything. It's about sustainability, and we know that our concentrates and isolates can really help with that. They're great emulsifiers. They're really good for texture improvement and gelling, and also fortification. The more we put in there, especially isolates, 80% plus protein, or concentrates 50-60%, that's going to help us achieve our front of pack claim for high in protein. Now, developing products with high protein or pulse flours, we can sometimes see some quality issues. So the dough itself might be more stickier, harder to handle. The product might not rise, the crumb structure might be affected, and we might see that product doesn't have the same shelf life. But there's solutions out there. For example, we have an enzyme called Valina Pulse that can be added to the recipe to really support that. So we don't have to compromise on the texture and the product quality for pulse breads or protein breads. So fibre enrichment, this is being talked about quite a lot. It seems like everybody's talking about gut microbiome. It seems like everybody's talking about gut health and immune health as a whole, which is really good. It's something that I'm personally interested in as well. So here again, we have our prebiotic fibres. We know that these are really good products when it comes to gut health. We've talked about those for fat reduction, for creaminess, for mouthfeel. We've talked about them for sugar reduction, as the fructooligosaccharides does have a sweet taste. So therefore it's good for sugar reduction. And now again, we're talking about these for fibre enrichment. So these type of products for nutritional optimization are great. They tick so many boxes. Other fibres that we can formulate with are corn fibre, pea, oat. These all play a great part depending on what you're trying to develop or formulate. Insoluble fibre. So if you're making a high fibre bread and you really want to boost the fibre, and you have a recipe and you just want to switch some of your flours or your starches out, why not try something like High Maize 260 or the equivalent on the market? It's a resistant starch. Ours, for example, the 260 has 53% fibre in there. So already by switching that in for another starch, you're boosting the fibre without trying too hard. And then if you were having some shelf life issues, or you weren't getting the volume that you wanted and you really pushed the fibre within that product and it's dry, you wanted to have a better mouthfeel, more shelf life, more volume, then we can look at enzyme solutions as well. We have Valina Fibre, which is used for high fibre breads. It's a processing aid. It doesn't need to be declared, but it means that you can have texture and organoleptic improvements of high fibre breads, and we can also take out emulsifiers as well, which is something that it's really nice to see when we clean up the label. So I've talked about some of the hero ingredients then for formulating for healthy nutrition, and they're single ingredients, but what we find is, as a solutions company, pulling lots of those together to achieve the targets that we need to achieve works really well. We've done a lot of work with our customers to do that, but now we're being asked for more. Now there has to be a sustainability story along with those ingredients and along with those developments, and we'll talk about that. So prioritizing sustainability is a major challenge for the baking industry, especially now at the minute when there's a real push about reducing costs, and raw materials are costing so much money, and it's even harder to manufacture and it's more expensive. And sustainability as a global crisis, it's not just here in the UK and it's not just European. And it's something that, it shouldn't need to be unpredictable when it comes to costs and availability. There is a trend, this new food like triad, where people are now focusing on nutrition, the planet, and how much something costs. So they want all three. The more people then that buy into this trend, it's going to put more demand on those sustainable ingredients. So hopefully then that stabilizes the price and availability of those. It doesn't become so much of a niche. We all have our targets going forward, which is really, really good. And we're all working towards those together as a collaboration. One thing I will say is, in the past, consumers would be very much, how does the product taste and what is the quality like of the product? And that would really mean that they'll go back and they'll buy that again. Now, as we've discussed today, people are more health conscious and they want more from the product itself. They want to see health claims. They want to see, high in fibre, for example, but they don't want to just see high in fibre. They want to see the source of the fibre. And with that source, what sustainability credentials come with that? So I'll give you an example of that, like chicory inulin versus agave inulin. Which one's more sustainable? So everything has to have its own sustainability story now. And we can see much more of that going forward. Here at Univar Solutions, we are really focused on sustainability, and it's a key driver for us. It's a key development area for us as a whole. We're really engaging with our suppliers. We're improving our own sustainability metrics, but we're also supporting our customers to deliver their goals. So a lot of our customers are coming to us now with new briefs. And with the new briefs, we have to choose the right ingredients for them because they have ESG targets to hit and sustainability targets to hit for their customers. So you can imagine we're looking at sustainable ingredients, sustainable developments, sustainable manufacturing, sustainable supply chains, and just keeping that real integrity the whole way through. We're very lucky that we work with some suppliers like Kelsac, for example, who are B Corp certified, but also some of our key partners like Ingredion and Novozymes have lovely sustainability stories associated with some of the ingredients that we've talked about today. And they also have really tight targets for themselves when it comes to sustainability. We've been sharing that with our customers because that's been built back in to their submissions to their retailers. So we're using this enzyme, for example, because this is what it does. It keeps a product fresher for longer. It helps with food waste. These are all key things that people want to talk about now. So it is, as I said, it's going to be a real collaboration between food manufacturers, ingredient suppliers, and also retailers and consumers as well. So sustainability will be a hot topic going forward. So just finally, just to close it out, like what can we do for you? I did talk to you about some of our ingredients today for formulating for healthy baking. We work with startup companies. We work with some of the key global food manufacturers, and that can be from anything from concept to launch. It could be for application work. It could be for webinars, training, prototypes. Just if they've got a challenge, they'll reach out to us. But it comes as part of the package of being one of our customers, having that technical support from us. So if there was something of interest today, if there's a project that you're working on and you feel like, we could help in any way, if you need a full solution rather than just a single ingredient, please reach out to us. We've got some recipes that we can share with you. I can jump on board and help you. You'll find me on LinkedIn. My name is Danielle Mailey. My email address is danielle.mailey@univarsolutions.com. And I just want to say thank you very, very much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. And I'll be in touch with you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Danielle, for taking the time to speak at Bakery Live. What made you want to talk about this topic in particular?
So for me, at the start of the year, people are always looking at MBD goals and where to go next, and they're getting some, as we talked about, they're getting some pressure from their customers, to talk about health, especially in baking. Some of my really large baking customers have said, Danielle, can you come and can you talk about any new ingredients? How can we do this really easily? So I wanted to kind of take a step back, and instead of focusing on just fat reduction or just sugar reduction, I really wanted to kind of do, here we are, here's an introduction to the whole world of nutritional optimization. So we can take, some of ingredients and form a little toolbox, just kind of educate people. Now, I'm sure there's ingredients that people have worked with for a long time, especially some of the enzymes or some of the fibres, for example, but it's just worth looking at the other ones that are now available and how they're working. And I suppose it gives people a feel for the kind of things that we do. So if there's any support that they need, we can help as well. So yeah, it's just to give everybody the tools that they need to formulate and hit the HFSS or the Nutri-Score or whatever it may be.
I think it was a very interesting overview, and I think provided sort of just a look into the technical challenges that maybe some of the customers are facing in meeting these different areas.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think people, especially in bacon, they use fresh keeping enzymes, and that's kind of like their key. They just they don't know that there's other enzymes out there that can really help. Just improve the quality of different types of breads, of cakes and everything. So I think it was worth mentioning those as well. And the fact, we want to keep things clean label. We want to have a focus on sustainability as well. And some of the proteins and stuff that we talked about today really, really do support that kind of sustainability story as well. So yeah, I think it was an all-rounder today. And I'm hoping that everybody got a lot from it, and they can reach out to me if they need any more information, and we can dig a little bit deeper into the kind of briefs that they're working on.
Well, thank you very much, Danielle. We do really appreciate you sharing your insights here at Bakery Live. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It's great to be part of it. Thanks very much for your time.